Alright, so I'm sure you guys saw my video from yesterday talking about how today Abacus was going to be releasing a poll. And they did. And we didn't know any information about the numbers, but all we were told is that Conservatives were slightly ahead, and they are. Albeit a very small lead. A lead is a lead, especially considering we're only about 4 months removed from the election. Now, we're going to get into this. There's quite a few bits of data to break in. I'm also going to do another video later on other issues, and David Coletto and Abacus does a really good job breaking it down, showing you all the statistics, all the things that are that matter most to Canadians, etc., etc., etc. So we'll get into that. There's a lot of information. Now, before we do, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really does help grow the channel. We're approaching 12,000 subscribers, so if you could help me get there, I'd be very appreciative of that. So let's start off with about this poll. The federal poll was fielded by Abacus Data in August of 2025 with a middle field date of August 17th. It's 1,900 people via an online panel. So this is basically including up to what happened last weekend with the whole Air Canada fiasco. It does not include what happened yesterday when markcarney, or was it Friday or yesterday, when markcarney dropped retaliatory tariffs. And the fact that Pierre is already taking back a lead before he's even gotten back into Parliament yet, only 4 months after, is a big deal. Now, to be fair, I've seen Polling Canada come out with some information saying that this would still be a Liberal majority. Sorry, a minority. I've also seen the Real Albanian Pat, which I will cover that as well in my next video, showing that this actually gives the Conservatives a slight majority. Now, both of these things could be true. It just depends on how many seats the Liberal takes in big cities like Vancouver, Toronto, Montreal, and Ottawa. If this 41% can penetrate those red walls, then yes, it could happen. But if the Liberals hold strong in big cities, they could actually still win the federal election by being down a couple points. But it's very, very, very close. A lot of people are saying, great, now's the time to have a vote of non-confidence, so as soon as they get back into Parliament, they should vote for it. Not yet. We do have to be a little bit patient here. The NDP is still only at 7. The Bloc's still only at 7. That is a +1, and same with the NDP. That's not enough. The NDP does not have a leader yet. They don't have any money. They might actually lose even more support. I don't know if that's even possible, because they do have like a cult following of people that will not leave them no matter what. But we want them to be well above 10%. With the new leader, with some funding, so that they can take back some of this. Because if the Liberals continue to get the NDP support, it's going to be very, very difficult. Not impossible, but very difficult for the Conservatives to win. We need the left to somewhat split their vote. And 7% isn't enough. The Bloc needs to be closer to around 9. Again, that doesn't sound like a lot. But if the Bloc can federally pull around 9, considering only people in Quebec can vote for them, that's going to take multiple seats back from the Liberals. That's what we're going to want to see. So we're going to want to wait till March, April, maybe May, maybe even this time next year. And if markcarney continues to drop the ball, Pierre's number is going to go up. The NDP is going to have a leader and hopefully some money. The Bloc will also realize that they are going to win some seats back. And you could see a vote of non-confidence pass. But not in September. I don't think that would be smart. Now, we look at the breakdown by region. There are pollsters. I don't know, do I still have it? So this is from this is from Abacus, sorry. This is from Liaison. Now, Liaison, if you go to the regional breakdowns, they have Atlantic Canada leading the Liberals leading the Conservatives by 30. Well, Abacus has it by 2. So something's going on there. Someone's really right. Someone's really wrong. Liberals leading Quebec, but the Bloc is very close behind. Ontario, again, the Liberals are leading, but barely by 2 points. That's within margin of error. Where Liaison has a 9-point lead, 11-point lead for the Liberals. So, and Liaison, to be fair to them, they're very suspicious. They were that polling company who had some office that was like above a strip mall. It looked really weird, but they actually predicted the election pretty closely, and I was surprised by that. So I do have to give them a little bit of credit. But between them and Abacus, I believe Abacus has a way better, longer track record the liaison. So I usually refer to them. And then, of course, the Prairies Conservatives are kicking butt. British Columbia, it's a virtual tie, but the Conservatives have a 1-point lead. That's very interesting. Female voters, male voters, this isn't too surprising. Females generally go left, males generally go right. That's not all of you, of course. I know there's some wonderful ladies who watch this channel who are firmly on the Conservative side, and that's great. But most of your peers go over to the left. Now, when Trudeau's end of his reign came, this started to flip, and it went back to the Conservatives, which I believe will happen again once they realize that this Carney guy is even worse. Then we have the breakdown by age group, 18 to 29 years old. Very liberal, generally speaking. I think that's about to change with Generation Alpha starting to grow up. I think they will be some of the most conservative little bastards we've ever seen. I mean that in a good way, of course. But 38 to 36 for the Liberals, considering that Trudeau's gone and that a lot of these young adults, right, if you're 28 years old, your whole adult life has been Trudeau as your prime minister except for the last few months. So if you're 28, 29 years old, 27 even, you're looking at this as a more of a Trudeau problem. And that's why this group flipped back so heavily towards Mark Carney, because it's like, oh, Trudeau's gone, it's safe to vote Liberal again. That's what they thought. And they're very young. So, I mean, can't give them too much crap, because, let's be honest, when the guy who's ruined everything is gone, you're going to feel better about the options. And a lot of them are open to voting Pierre Poilievre. They just defaulted to the Liberals, but they're going to learn their lesson. And they're already starting to flip back here. So you look at the liaison, what they have from the 18 to 34 is that it's a 6-point lead. Now, this polling is a little bit older. This is from August 7th. So whenever they put out their next poll, they could adjust those numbers. We'll have to see what happens, but they have it 18 to 34, not 18 to 29. But either way, it's young adults. And they're showing a little bit more of a lead. But again, this is before the Air Canada fiasco and the fact that cost of living and the housing market and the crime, and it's all still, like, nothing's being fixed, and the Liberals are still on vacation. So, you're seeing some of the young guys go, wait a minute, is this just like Trudeau? And they're starting to flip back towards Pierre. I think they're regretting their decision to ditch Pierre and go over to Carney. 30 to 44, very close with a slight conservative lead. 45 to 59, again, pretty big lead, but not overly big, not what you want to see. And look at the boomers. Again, I give a lot of boomers crap. Not all boomers. I know a lot of you who listen to this channel, most of you who listen to this channel are actually boomers. Your colleagues are very liberal, but look, it's starting to come back a little bit here. Only 3 points for the Liberals. This is very, very bad news for Mark Carney. Again, he could do a couple of good things to switch this around. It's not over by any stretch of the imagination, but this is huge because this shouldn't be happening to Carney right away. I think he would be very shocked at this. Government approval. Just a couple months ago, Carney's at 53-52. He's already dropped 4 points in a honeymoon phase. To drop 4 points, again, it's not over. He still has a pretty high approval rating and a pretty low disapproval rating, but the neutral unsure, this number is going to start to go down unless Carney starts to do good things for this country. The Air Canada union debacle was the first big public mistake. Yeah, there were other big mistakes that Conservatives are going to pay attention to. No budget, overspending, same cabinet as Trudeau. But the general public, they don't really care about those things. Most people don't even budget their own money, let alone expect the government to do that, right? So those things were big deals to us, but not to the public. Well, the union thing and now dropping the tariffs, these are big deals for Mark Carney. And he failed on both. And this poll was put out August 17th, or the median day was August 17th. Carney dropped the retaliatory tariffs after this. So the next poll that comes out in a couple weeks or whenever, you could see an even bigger drop. Not guaranteed, we don't know, but you could easily see that. 48% favorability was at 51%. And it was 49, 51, 48, 49. It's kind of stayed the same. Impression favorability of Pierre Poilievre. It is now back to a -2. So that's not great. It was at +1 just a couple weeks ago. Now it's -2. Now, the Conservatives are never going to have, a +20 favor, but it's Canada, right? It's a liberal country. Conservatives only really win when the Liberals screw things up really badly and don't have a Hail Mary to throw at you last second. Now, 40% positive is not bad. Negative unfavorable 42, but again, you're going to see that probably switch. Now, again, it has switched back and forth, but -2 isn't horrible here, not to mention you have 18% who are unsure. This group of voters here will vote for Pierre Poilievre. They just generally defer to the Liberals, but after Trudeau and now Carney screwing things up, unless Mark Carney changes things around and does good things for Canada, it seems like Canadians are finally starting to hold the Liberal Party accountable, and that's what we need.